rage, brutal without mercy. But you will be worse.
Rip and tear until it is done.
id Software started Doom with some of the hardest lines ever written in a video game, and nothing had happened yet. To further set the stage for what was to come, the 2016 soft reboot/sequel didn't have any pre-release reviews. No one knew what to expect, and given the reputation of Bethesda Softworks, at least when it came to such embargoes, there was skepticism. It all came crashing down with that first glory kill, the first satisfying crunch. Immediately, it was apparent that Doom was something special and, above all else, back. As noted in Part 1, the journey had been long for the Doom Marine. When we last left off, he had returned to Hell to take down the Resurrector, wreaking havoc on all demons before finally emerging victorious. After everything that happened, the invasions of Earth, the constant transgressions of demonic forces, the Doom Marine reaffirmed his plan to stay in Hell and make the lives of its many nefarious denizens that much more painful. After an unknown period, however, he ended up back in our dimension on Mars, albeit sealed for who knows how long. Unbeknownst to him, the Union Aerospace Corporation, UAC, was up to its old shenanigans harnessing Hell's energy. What began as a mission to provide energy to Earth spiraled horribly as the facility staff dabbled in the occult and even ventured into Hell to capture demons and modify them. They also brought back a mysterious sarcophagus, which was found in a tomb littered with various incantations and held in place, almost like someone wanted whatever was within to not escape under any circumstances.
Responsibility for the horrible events of the last 24 hours, but you must understand. Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind. Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
While Samuel Hayden, an android later revealed to be housing the mind of a UAC scientist and, well, something greater, ran the facility, another key figure was Olivia Pierce. As head of biomechanical research and Hayden's protege, she covertly worked with demons to allow them to invade the facility. The overall goal was humanity's subjugation, again, with the forces of Hell ultimately breaking through to our dimension. When this happens, much of the staff, even those subservient and welcoming of the demons, are brutally killed. Things are quickly thrown into disarray, and it seems that the demons will finally succeed. That is, until Hayden awakens the contents of the mysterious sarcophagus. After killing some low-level possessed humans and retrieving his Praetor armor, the Slayer resumes his initial mission, to wreak havoc across Hell and all its demons.
If he awakes, it could jeopardize the entire mission, for he is the only one who can stand against them.
Of course, Hayden won't leave the Slayer to his own devices that easily, especially when the latter starts destroying equipment for refining energy, the same harvested from Hell. To receive more details and ultimately stop Pierce, the two start working together with Vega, an AI running the facility, providing support for the Slayer and even facilitating upgrades for the Praetor suit. Eventually, the Slayer catches up with Pierce, who ventures to the facility's tower for her final gambit, opening a rift to Hell by detonating an accumulator device. The tower is subsequently destroyed and the Slayer is teleported back to Hell, which is the textbook example of, "You're locked in here with me," as he begins stomping through the realm slaying demons of all shapes and sizes. His trip is short-lived though, as eventually he returns to Mars and meets up with Hayden in person. Upon receiving a device to help with teleportation, which certainly won't come back to bite him, the Slayer is instructed to find the Helix Stone, an artifact that offers more information about the energy source. The energy source is ultimately what's powering the portal letting the demons run amok. Shut it down and the Slayer can halt their advance. However, it also tells him of a weapon called the Crucible. It's back in Hell, so in the most sensible of plans, he kills a cyber demon, takes its accumulator, and ventures back. Several dozens and dozens of dead demons later in the Titan's realm, and the Slayer retrieves the Crucible. With the weapon in hand, the next step of the plan is to venture to the energy source. The only way to do that, unfortunately, is by sacrificing Vega. The Slayer goes to the facility housing the AI, destroying the servers and cooling infrastructure before finally going to the core and triggering a meltdown. Before Vega's untimely demise, the Slayer makes a backup of it. While it doesn't mean that Vega lives once more, it does open the door for its eventual return in the future.
The process is complete.
Thank you, Vega.
The destruction of the core offers enough energy to open another portal, this time sending the Slayer to the energy source. With the Crucible's power, he proceeds to destroy it and shut down the portal. However, he also runs into Pierce, who survived the explosion of the tower. She subsequently turned into the Spider Mastermind thanks to the demons, and they battle in hell before the Slayer emerges victorious. Once more, the demons have been stopped before they could invade Earth. At least, that's what it seems like. The Slayer returns to Mars and is betrayed by Hayden. Still keen on harnessing the energy, he takes the Crucible for his own nefarious plans and sends the Slayer away. And thus, the story ends for now. When the UAC first discovered the sarcophagus and brought it back, they opened it to discover the Doomslayer in a sort of stasis. It's unknown how long he'd been sealed, but they couldn't wake up or even harm him due to some kind of barrier. They also dubbed him the Doom, all caps Marine, more or less confirming his identity as the same Marine from Doom 1 and 2 and Doom 64. Furthermore, a battle took place when the UAC was removing the sarcophagus, with the demons displaying an instinctual ferocity previously unobserved. Almost like they knew exactly what was within and tried everything in their power to ensure it remained sealed inside, which of course failed, and the rest is moot. Slayer's origins trace back to a time of unending conflict, molded by torment and driven by a deep desire for retribution. Rather than succumb to the horrors he faced, he transformed that pain into purpose. His relentless fury and strength eventually led him to a powerful warrior order, the Night Sentinels, where he earned his place among their elite rank, serving alongside those sworn to defend their realm and uphold its code. When you look back on the original Doom Marine who slaughtered demons relentlessly through sheer grit, it's worth wondering how he became the Doomslayer. Granted, the moniker was earned through his long-standing campaign against Hell's forces, thus cementing his legend. He came to embody the title over time, but it was only after encountering Samar that his campaign entered a new phase. Around that period, his speed and strength increased noticeably, further fueling his push against the forces of Hell. What followed was a period marked by vengeance, where the Slayer's name became etched in Hell's history, out of fear. Legends of his brutality spread as he tore through the demonic ranks with unmatched intensity. By executing weakened foes in brutal fashion, the Slayer could instantly recover lost health, allowing him to stay in the fight even at death's door, and, for a brief moment, gain just enough invincibility to push through the chaos. What's particularly interesting is how many of the upgrades discovered in the game aren't innately tied to the Slayer. Instead, they're more focused on upgrading the Praetor suit and unlocking new perks, improving weapons, and fitting new mods to significantly alter them, and using runes for passive benefits. However, for all intents and purposes, regardless of the state of his equipment, the Doomslayer is becoming stronger as he kills more demons. Such was his power that the demons were pushed back deep into Hell. Whether through sheer luck or by enlisting its aids, they would bring a Titan who came forth to challenge the Slayer. While they engage in a battle, eventually the Slayer emerges victorious and the Titan is slain. To say that the forces of Hell were beyond desperate at this point would be an understatement. There's a point in the Slayer's long war across Hell where he may have received his signature armor. It was handed to him by a mysterious figure known only as the Wretch, a name deliberately kept hidden. Alongside the suit, he was also equipped with a powerful sword and shield, both described as nearly indestructible. This encounter appears to have taken place while he was moving across realms and timelines, suggesting that the armor might have been acquired even before many of his more well-known battles. Doom the Dark Ages could finally offer answers to where and when these weapons were truly forged. If this happened after defeating the Titan, then it would give more credence to the part about his growing power. It also paints an even more dire picture for the demons. If they couldn't stop the Slayer when he didn't have the armor or these new weapons, what chance would they have now? Eventually, the Slayer was baited by the demons. Upon his arrival, it was brought down and seemingly immobilized him long enough for sealing in the sarcophagus. The mark of the Slayer was engraved upon it, and thus, he was trapped within the tomb for an unknown number of years. Then, one day, Samuel Hayden and the UAC's expedition uncovered the sarcophagus. Of course, there are a lot more details to go through to properly trace the story back to the Dark Ages. For example, in the UAC report about the Doom Marine, the Slayer's sarcophagus was originally kept at Lazarus Labs. It would eventually go missing, and it was believed that Hayden had moved the Slayer's body and the prettier suit. The reason is unknown, but perhaps he knew exactly what the Slayer was. Maybe he knew of Olivia Pierce's pact with Hell and ready to trump card in case things went south. Then we have the Wraiths, who played an important role for the Night Sentinels and in their downfall. We will delve into it when covering the story of Doom Eternal. While the Slayer had been sent away to who knows where, the threat of the demons hadn't waned. 14 years after the incursion on Mars, Hell's forces made their way to Earth and pretty much transformed it into a hellish wasteland with 60% of its population dead. The UAC is pretty much a full-blown faction of Hell at this point, and the resistance movement known as the Armored Response Coalition, or ARC, isn't enough. However, just when the forces of Hell think they've won, somehow, the Doomslayer returns, ready to rip and tear once more until it's done. But that's a story for another time, unfolding in the 2020 sequel, Doom Eternal. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.